that's it.
Okay, you're on.
For better or for
Push it
worse,
over a
just
little.
like getting married.
Okay.
Little tense about this.
No, don't be tense.
Okay.
Felix is going to make you feel comfortable. You're going to just have a regular conversation with you.
Oh, all
How's
right.
that?
Just
There you
think
go.
about where you were born.
Oh, I was born on a farm near Mansalona, Michigan. 1 week after they moved to the farm, so that's all. I was always teased about that because they said they found me in the barn where the little calves were born. That was born May 8, 1926. That's when I was born, a long time ago. That's about it.
And your family, talk about your family. What's your...
Well, I was number 12 of 14 children. There were, let's see, there were 10 alive when I was born. And then 2 more were born after me. My poor mother, she survived it all.
With the stove, kitchen.
Oh yes, yeah, doing everything the hard way. Life on the farm, no electricity, kerosene lamps, and coal stove in the dining room, wood stove in the kitchen, all the baking and boiling, cooking, noodles,
Blankets.
many blankets on a winter's night because it was,
How many in the bed?
well, always 4 girls in the bed. Murray was actually she was the first girl born, but she had already left home and was a housekeeper for a priest in Bay City, Michigan, when I was born. So, but we all slept in the same bed. Well, I slept with my mother until I think that's not nursing anymore. Then we graduated to the bed. Or then there were 6, because I was number 12. There were 2 more boys born. But there were 2 bedrooms, 2 beds in the other bedroom, and 4 to a bed there for many years. That's how it went.
And you didn't have to buy very much stuff at the store.
Pardon?
You didn't have to buy very much at the store, did you?
No, that land produced a lot of food, considering it was really kind of poor soil. They planted string beans by the acre and sold some, ate a lot of them,
Tell them it's
and
potatoes.
canned some. Pardon?
How many potatoes you grow?
Oh, I don't know if there are a lot. We lived mainly on potatoes. We had potato digging vacation with the country school where I went for the first 8 grades. So they closed the school the 2nd week of October, and everybody stayed home on their farms and picked potatoes. We had potatoes by the acres, and we sold some and ate some every day, at least once, sometimes twice a day. So sometimes we were called potato heads, but that was okay. We could handle that.
Did you have to buy very much stuff at the store?
No, because we baked bread. We had the cows that gave milk even when it was in the dead of winter when they were kind of not producing, but we always had enough milk to drink. And they always could get cream. We had a cream separator actually that separated the cream from the milk.
You used to sell that.
And we sold that, yeah. That was how they made some extra money, which was always needed. My father worked at a sawmill for many years. Yeah, the same year he got a job there, he had an accident with the sawmill and took off his forefinger on his right hand, which was kind of a handicap, but he managed otherwise very well. And he knew how to reach for the razor strap if somebody got out of line. That's his way of discipline, which I thought was horrible. Couldn't wait to leave because of that, mainly. Well, he was angry. It was terrible.
Well, how much stuff did you ever buy at the store?
There was always something we had to buy. I'm trying to think.
Sugar?
Yeah, sugar. Yeah, flour and sugar, exactly. but not a whole lot, because we had the milk and the cream and
Everything was
made, we always
Was
made
everything
butter
handmade, or-
and cottage cheese. So, and we canned all the fruits and around peaches and pears and cherries, 2-quart jars usually. That was the way we canned.
Did you butcher your pigs?
Always butchered when it was going to be past freezing, where the meat would be fine out, be hanging in from the rafters in the barn, and we used that. They always cleaned the intestines, and we made some sausage, was that the kind of
Yeah.
dried sausage,
Did
and
you have
ham, and let's see, what was the other one? It crossed my mind a minute ago.
What was in the jars?
That was when they butchered a calf. Well, it was really beef by then. It was more beef. It wasn't like veal anymore.
Young beef.
And yeah, and we canned it. And it was a hot. Yeah, I forget the exact method they used, but it was taught in the home economics department in the school, how to can with.
Oh, yes. Well, how was your school?
It was fine. I walked a mile and a quarter each way to the country school. It was up and down hills all the way, and that was fine. There were 3 of us graduated from 8th grade, and then I went downtown to the Mansfield High School, and I think there were about 37 in the freshman class there. So,
Was that a one-room school?
no, not high school. They had.
Your grade
Was
school
it?
was?
Oh, grade school, absolutely, one-room schoolhouse. Oh, yeah, I could hear everybody give their, when they had their lessons, I listened to them all. It sounded more interesting than studying, so I listened to all
Is
the
that how you got
classes.
smart?
Pardon?
Is that how you got smart? Listen to the classes
No,
they had
I
you?
did read a lot. I read everything. I read advertisements and any kind of magazine well, we only had the one paper. That came out once a week. So I didn't get much news otherwise than what was in magazines. That's what I read. And then some of my I was number 12, so I had 4 sisters older than me, and some of them would have the True Confession magazines, or some of those that are kind of like pulp literature nowadays. But I read everything I could get my hands on. That's what I did.
Wasn't there a library you could go to?
Oh yeah, I went there. Oh yeah, we even had a little library at the country school. I always remember those. I wish I could remember what it was exactly. It was one of those little that it was some author. It was Willa Cather or somebody that wrote a series of books. And I always remember walking home one day and I thought, I got this book right in my arm. I can look at it any time. That's the first time I had a real storybook
Of your own?
about. No, it was borrowed. Just
Oh, it was
that way.
borrowed.
It was just a lending library.
Well, how big was your school? Your one-room school?
Oh,
Was it all one?
the first school, yeah, the first 8 grades. It was. Well, there were 3 of us graduated from 8th grade at the country school. That was Tilly School. It was through the woods, a mile and a quarter, and it was up and down hill the whole way. And then about the last half mile, the railroad track ran through there too. So you had to watch. A train came through once a day, but it never was. Seemed like when we were coming or going to school, so it was not a hazard of any kind. And then when I went to high school, it was 2 miles each way, and I walked most of the time. And my brother Steve Paul was older than me, but he wouldn't walk with me. He always walked ahead of me. Yeah, no, I need a drink of water. I got a tickle. This is Coke. I don't know about that being so good.
Well,
Better.
How deep would the snow get when you?
Oh, easily. Sometimes it snowed. It'd snow all night, and then the moon would blow drifts, so you could wade at least a foot high, and sometimes up to 2 feet high. You had to kind of plow your way through. but then you were making a path for the next one, so that's how it went back and forth.
Well, there's more than one kid going along with it.
Oh yeah, there were 5 of us usually going, no, only 3 going to country school and then high school. But Paul and let's see, who was it? Most of them didn't. Actually, hardly anybody graduated ahead of me. Sorry. And so a lot of them tried out high school and they didn't like us, so they quit. And it was just fine with my mother and father because they were very available to do whatever work there was on the farm, and that was never ending. Morning to night, there was always work on the farm. Everything was done the old-fashioned way, milking the cows. And we did have a cream, but a milk separator, so I separated the cream. So we always made butter. We had buttermilk.
What were your duties at home? Mainly.
Always washing and drying dishes. That was my big chore, and that was what I probably hated the most. And then ironing and cleaning every which way. Scrubbing. Always scrubbed the kitchen floor because it was a wood floor, so it had to be scrubbed. That's all, because it got pretty tracked up with.
Did you have to keep the fire going in the kitchen for your mother?
No, we're not allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to do that. It was always older ones. Joe was the one that usually fed the stove because he was the one that had asthma and was really limited as far as doing physical labor. So he was handy there. He always was the one to go to the store. He learned how to drive right away. So go to the store and get groceries or do any chores that needed going somewhere else to drive to. So
But that was in later years, wasn't it? You didn't have a car right away.
Oh yeah, they had the Star. In the year I was born, my dad bought a 1926 Star. It had the isinglass side curtain just snapped on and off. Actually, the roof came off too. You could fold it back, and it was a convertible. They did that about twice, what I remember, and it was so weird. We're driving around without anything over at the top of us. I could not get over that. It was just like it was riding in a wagon or something.
How many cows did you have?
About 7 or 8, I think, usually, and then there were in the spring there would be about probably 3 calves or so.
Did you have horses?
And always 2 horses, yeah, because it was always either pulling the sleigh or the whatever other wagon. It was always usually 2 horses they hitched up, hardly ever 1 horse. So that was the way we got our own. But we did have an old, yeah, my father bought that. Did I mention that 1926 Star?
Yes.
With the isinglass? Yeah, so that we had that. And then we finally got a Chevrolet that was, I think, about in the early 1930s. And that was all with regular doors and glass and windows on it and things like that.
Did you have a garage?
Yes, they built the garage right away. It was right next to the road. This was a side road. It was a half a mile off the main highway, Route 131, going through Michigan. So it was just a big gravel road. But then the plow would come through maybe once a month or so. It seemed like, because we had snow 4 or 5 months. It seemed of a year. It was really snow country. Actually got kind of famous for the ski runs that they built. Well, we wouldn't have many years after I was out of high school, and they realized that they could make some money with ski runs and toboggan slides and all the winter activities.
Were the winters hard?
Winters were very hard because we had the cook stove in the kitchen, and that heated up the kitchen nicely, and the 2 back bedrooms where the boys slept, and then we had a heater for the dining room, and that some of that went through the living room and into the bedroom where us girls slept. There were usually 4 or 2 a bed, and because there were 4 of us at home. Murray was long gone. She was working for a priest in Bay City, Michigan. So
was there enough wood for the fireplace? For the stove?
many cords of wood. Yes, they would just go to the woods and chop trees. That's all they did. Anywhere it seemed like we had plenty on that 80-acre farm, and then my dad bought another farm. It's 140 acres. there weren't many trees. It wasn't really a woods at all, but it was another farmhouse, and they planted a big cornfield there. So there was they planted corn by the acre, and we'd had the corn. We had a corn crib that would fill to the top all in the fall, because the pigs ate that all the time.
Can you explain a meal, a typical meal you'd had at home?
Well, it
Like
depends on
for
what day of the
supper.
week it was, because it was all set depending on the day of the week. But we always had noodles and cabbage, or with noodles and cottage cheese on Friday. Excuse me.
Well, that's the day you couldn't eat meat.
Right, never eat on Friday. And once in a while you get a dispensation, and it was a church holiday, and it happened to fall on a Friday. So I remember Paul standing there with a piece of meat. He's going to eat it the minute it went past midnight.
Paul's your brother.
Paul was 2 years older than me, but he thought he was a lot older, I think. A lot of time he always thought I was the little one, so. Because I was the youngest of 5 girls, so that
All
was,
right, now, what
was
other
a hardship.
meal, like a Sunday meal, everybody had a Sunday meal. Was there chicken in them?
Oh, always. Usually it was a chicken boiled to death, and then we had the broth with homemade noodles in it, and then always boiled carrots and onions and sometimes potatoes in the broth. So that when we ate that with ketchup, we made our own ketchup too, because we planted many tomato plants in the garden. We had a garden opposite the back door, and opposite this backyard. So there was a lot of garden, a lot of tomato plants, a lot of corn too. We had planted a lot of
You
corn.
didn't say anything about potatoes.
And potatoes by the acre.
And
We had potato digging vacation. Did I mention that? First week of October, the country school closed, and because we all came from farms for the country school, so every farmer planted potatoes. That was famous for the potatoes up there. They grew nicely and they sold well. There was always a place where you'd take them downtown and next to the railroad track, and there'd be somebody there to measure them, weigh them, and pay whatever they were worth. That's how you'd make nice money with that potato digging vacation.
Did you sell anything else?
Let me have a drink of that.
Did you sell anything else to make money?
Not in any quantity. Very, yeah.
This too.
Oh, thank you. That's what I need, is a drink of water, dear. Maybe I'll take just a sip of this.
This was making you cough.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm.
Okay, tell us a typical summer day, what you have to do. You were on
Depends.
vacation.
Yeah, if it was summer vacation, then as far back as my earliest memories is going watching the cows. That was called pasturing the cows. We'd take them to the just outside the fence where marked our 80 acres, and because the grass was really nice there, so the cows would pasture there, and it was usually Steve. He's 2 years younger than me, and we'd have to watch the cows that they didn't go near the highway for one thing, or the railroad track, and just stay where they belong, next to the woods. And that was like probably half a day. We'd bring them home, I guess. Well, that was about for the early afternoon. They'd bring them home because I think they were being milked by about 5 o'clock. So that was.
What
That
kind
was
of
our
breakfast did you eat?
oatmeal, almost always. Oatmeal, cream of wheat once in a while, but that was kind of a luxury. And then Sunday was always scrambled eggs, and sometimes bacon, depending if we had made bacon that winter. And because we always butchered a pig as soon as it got cold enough where it would be freezing all night, so it could hang in the middle barn. I don't know why I'm coughing so much.
You're
I must be
nervous.
tense,
Take a drink whenever.
Pardon?
Take a drink whenever you have to.
Okay.
Okay. And your main job on the farm, let's say in the summertime, what was it?
Watching the cows. When
Uh,
Steve and me usually, it's when we were probably about 12, this.
How about when you got
Couple
older?
years.
Did you have other?
No, it just seemed like I remember doing that for quite a while, maybe 2 or 3 years. And then there was always, I had to either watch Ed, because he was 6 years younger than me. He was the youngest of the family.
Did your mother let you cook in the kitchen?
Well, always helping, always helping. He insisted we help, but never let us, just do something on our own, not for a long time.
Would you say?
But sometimes when they all go to churches, somebody always had to stay home. We couldn't all go to church. Somebody had to stay home and tend the fire because of the kitchen stove, because of whatever was cooking. Or just because there wasn't room for everybody in the car, for one thing.
Would you say you had potatoes every meal?
Every day, but not every meal. Yeah. Usually
Number
for the
one
main
steak?
meal.
Is the number one?
But we had oatmeal a lot. Once in a while cream of wheat, but usually oatmeal. And then Sunday was always the scrambled eggs and bacon, or sometimes sausage. We made our own sausage too. It
You
was
make your own ham too?
always made our own ham. Yeah, hung it in the smoker first. But there was a little smoker built in the back, next to the barnyard. And then we'd hang them after they were smoked and cured good. Then they would hang in the basement and bring them up one at a time to
Tell
use
us about-
bacon and
Tell us
and
about your
ham.
bathroom.
We never had a bathroom. We had a toilet. It was really put in the backyard next to the chicken coop. And that's where we ran. It was a two-holder. And we'd run out there, and
What's a tool holder?
two holes to sit down on, to go do whatever you had to go. The toilet.
In the wintertime, that'd be pretty hard on you.
Yeah, well, sometimes we would just run out, and we usually wouldn't. That was usually at night when you didn't want to go all the way. You'd just pee in the snow. That was simple as that could be. Didn't matter at all. Nobody cared if you peed in the snow in the wintertime. But that was it. Just pee. That's it.
Now, how did you do, like, when you left, were you very smart when you left the one-room schoolroom, when you went to high school?
I thought I was smart in the Tilly school, yes, because there were three most of the time. Then the one boy that was there, he dropped out, so there were just Mary, Cora, and me. But I know I was a little smarter than she was. But that didn't seem to, didn't do anything for me, or didn't matter. But in high school, that was a whole different story. There were, I think, more boys than girls that were pretty smart. They knew what questions to ask where I didn't really know.
You're nervous.
This is bothering me.
You're nervous, that's all.
No, I don't feel nervous anymore. Maybe I was to start with. But
All right, tell us about high school.
high school, well, I was still the girl from the country, so that was like a
Is
little
it-
blight on me, I thought.
The ones in
And
the,
I had a page boy, Bob, who was it that, oh, I forgot who that was. I had such a beautiful page. It was an actress, and I tried to copy her, and I did have a pretty good copy for most of the high school.
what was your best classes?
It must probably English, because I didn't like geometry especially. Algebra was all right. Geometry was terrible. I don't think I understood it, and nobody helped me either.
Did you have math in your grade school?
Yeah, arithmetic. It was always arithmetic through the eighth grade. It was always just a book of
But
arithmetic.
algebra, you didn't get it at all.
I really didn't feel I got it right. And I was so glad. And then geometry was worse. I hated geometry, but I did pass everything. But sometimes I wonder how, because it was hard. I didn't like numbers of any kind. I just
You
didn't.
said something about spelling.
Yeah, that's what I went to the county spelling to be. You know, I passed the country school, one at our high school. Then I went to Traverse City because that was county spelling bee. And I was up there for quite a while, but I think there were about 10 left, and I failed. I'll never forget that I failed on economy. I don't know how I spelled it. I spelled it wrong.
Spell it now.
Economy, E-C-O-N-O-M-Y, economy.
You never forgot it.
I never, because I used to sound it out, but I must
Were
not
you
sounded
nervous?
that
Were
out.
you nervous?
Oh, I'm sure I was very nervous. I always was. If it was something that put you on the spot, I was all nerves. I didn't want to be standing out from anything else that was going on. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be part of everything, though.
Would you say you liked school?
Yes, I did, because I got away from home and all that drudgery. And I know that was a little bit of a reason why I went to high school. And didn't go. I think she went 2 months in 9th grade, and she said it's not for her. And Betty was smart, but she loved.
Now, Ann and Betty, who were they?
Well, Ann was, let's see, 2 years older. Betty was about 6 years older. And Marge was about 4 years older. And most of us were spaced about 2 years apart. But Betty loved the the arithmetic numbers, math. But she got a job.
Who was the smartest person in your family?
Smartest what?
Person.
Oh, I don't know. I know Ed was smart. I was right up there, but not the smartest. I know.
Oh, okay. And nephew,
But I know I got the grades. Most of the time. Sometimes I goofed
did
around.
you have A?
Get what?
Did you get A in your?
Oh yeah.
All A?
Yeah, we always got. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I had in one class. I had C's straight across. I think it was the whole 4 years of high school. It was something to do with math, I think. It's kind of vague now what it was. But I didn't like numbers. I didn't like math, or it wasn't math. It was, it was, what's the first one? That geometry. That was, algebra was first. I got that. And geometry, I sort of got it. And then that was it. I didn't like it at all.
You didn't have anybody to help you on it?
Not really. Joe really wasn't a help. I don't think didn't seem like he knew how to help me, or
But you never
didn't
failed.
want to.
You never failed.
No, I never failed a class or a year. No, I graduated the same year I turned 17. I was young all through high school. They started me early, and then it just went on. I didn't go to kindergarten. There wasn't any then. So I went to first grade at 5 years old. So that was all like, I kind of struggled because I was so unsure of myself by the time I was in high school. I didn't know any different in grade
How'd
school.
you compare yourself with the rest of the class? Were you the lowest, the highest?
Oh,
the
no,
medium?
the highest in all the through grade school, but not high school. High school was a whole different story. There were kids from, the whole county. It seemed like they're from several miles, because we had the bus service. The bus picked us up. We had that happened. I think the last 2 years of high school we had the bus service. Could come down the country roads and all that. We always got a ride, unless it was really a blizzard. Then we'd have to walk to the state road, which was from the farm to 131, about a mile. Mm-hmm.
All in all, you got a good education.
that I got a good one? No, adequate.
And you never thought of going to college?
No, I wanted to be a nurse by then, because I had that appendectomy when I was a senior.
Tell us about that.
And that was another crisis because I was having the pains, and I knew enough about reading. I read all the time, so I knew about appendix, where the appendix was and what could happen. Then I heard of a boy, one of the Catholic boys. He was, I think he was a Slovak too. He had a burst appendix and he died, and that's all I needed to hear. And I was always worried about it then. So by the time I was a senior, and it was winter, I think it was January, and I started feeling that pain on my side, my right side. And then I couldn't eat, and I really didn't feel good. I vomited a couple times during the night, and then my mother said, Joe, get the car ready, got to take me to the doctor. So Joe did. It's 2 miles from the farm to downtown Mansalona, where the doctor's office was. So I went and told him, I was just scared. I don't know what all I even said. Probably I just answered his question, but he wasn't sure. But it was tender when he would touch me on that side where the appendix was. But he wasn't sure, so he said, "Is there someplace you could stay in town, and I could check you in the afternoon." This was in the morning. So I went to the Velis's because they were Slovak and they had a house in town. Stayed there, and it was after luncheon, and I vomited some more, so I better go back to the doctor. So he checked me again. He said, "Oh, I better take you to the hospital," and that was in Petoskey. It was 40 miles north of Mansalona. So he drove me there, and it was about, I know it was getting dark already, and they took me to surgery, and they gave me a spinal, which I had no idea what it was like, except I found I was numb from the waist down. And that was the kind of surgery I had. So I was listening to everything, and all the doctors talking about was fishing, where they were fishing up north, because that was supposed to be so good. So that stuck in my mind, and I came through that. Well, then they took me to surgery and then back to the room, and I had a spinal, so I don't know if I slept very much or not, but I know my back started aching so bad, so I think I started crying, and the nurse came in, and I told her. She started scolding me. She said, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ring the bell?" I didn't know any better. Then I was supposed to say for something like that, because I was afraid to move turn to the side. That was why my back ached so bad. So then she settled me down. And I think about the 3rd day, then I could sit up, and then I know I stayed there 1 week, and then my brother Joe came to get me and went home. I did still lay around a lot. I was kind of afraid to be very active, and then one day I heard this bam, and my mother had fainted in the kitchen, and my father, he couldn't figure out what to do, but that was the first time she started failing in her health. She was, I don't know if it was high blood pressure to start with, but her heart was failing her. And she was only, let's see, 60, I think she was 60, about 64 or 5. And the way she was in kind of failing health for more than 2 years, and she died at 68. Age 68.
Did you get a bill? Who paid the bill?
Well, mine was paid for by the county, because when you're poor, you had aid. There was something with children's aid. I don't know how it was worded especially, but that my appendectomy was paid for by the state. I think it was more than the county. I think it was a state aid that we had.
And the doctor bill into that?
Was that, I don't know. I don't know. It seemed like it was like $30 or something like that. But I don't know if we had to pay all of that or not. I really don't know anymore. I think we probably paid part of it, but not all, because we did have help.
Do you have recreation on your farm?
No, what we thought up ourselves, yeah, we'd eat and run out of the house and find the ball and bat and play baseball, you know, had to run and bat the ball and then run to either the toilet or in back or to the windmill and back before they could get the ball and throw it to home base. That was our game. We played that a lot because I had those two brothers. One brother older than me, one younger, and then Ann was older than me, 4 years older, but she usually played too, but she was slow. She didn't really like that kind of activity. She didn't like sports, to play sports especially. So that was that, and then everything was sandy around there. It was hard running a lot of times because it was so sandy. You'd slip and slide in. If you were barefoot, it was worse.
Now you graduated from high school, then what happens then?
The first week.
Well, what year did you graduate?
1943, and I turned 17 that same week, graduated from high school, and left town, never to return. I was so happy to leave, because I went to Bay City because we heard that see this, the World War II was on, and we heard that you could get a job if you didn't work on a machine. You could get a job when you were 17.
Did they pay?
Marge had already gone ahead of us, and she was working at, I forgot what, it was something connected with Chevrolet. But I got a job, it was at the Autolite, because they would take you if you were 17, but you couldn't work with a machine. You had to just do, well, I measured gyroscopes for parts, and well, I used a micrometer to measure it. That'd be exactly so.
They used on the airplanes?
Yes, it was for airplanes, for, what do you call those?
The bomb sites?
No, something to do with the airplane itself. That it was a part for the gyroscope. Yeah, there was a part that was something that was put on an airplane.
Okay.
I can't think that. I'll probably think of it in the middle of the night, and I'll call you up. And
then
right
how's it pay?
I don't know, but I thought it was wonderful because I had some spending money. I think seemed like it was over around $20 or $22, and I think it was once a week. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm sure it was once a week. But then we had an apartment. My sister Ann and Marge and me had an apartment, and it was really pretty nice. It was 2-bedroom. I think I slept on the sofa, and that was fine with me. But it was like freedom. And Ann didn't want to go very much, but Marge was always ready to go. There were places you could go and dance. You know, it was like everybody did it. You know, unattached. You didn't go as a couple. You just went with like a bunch of girls, or maybe a bunch of guys, or
All the
whatever.
guys were in the army, weren't they?
No, there were always some that were there for whatever reason. Well, I was only 17, so there were guys under 18 well, they weren't drafted right away either, because there was always somebody. I remember a little Polish guy that I didn't, I kind of gave him a bad time. But I had to lie, and then that's when I realized there's only one person that can take care of me is myself. And it's all up to me to behave and not do anything wrong. And because I always wanted to, everybody went out to drink somewhere. Like
Did you drink?
I always had one drink, and beer.
You
Not.
were below age.
But I turned 18 right down in May of that next year, so that was legal then. I don't know. Is it legal now? You don't have to be 21. Because it seems to me it used to be 21, and I know they made it 18, so I was legal.
And then, was it a boring job, or a good job, or?
No, it wasn't boring because we were always chatting around, we were always using those micrometers and measuring all these little parts for airplane engines. So we always sat around the table and always talked all the time about everything. There were probably about 5 or 6 of us, and they were all, well, some were from a farm, but not everyone. Everyone wasn't from a farm. They were around Bay City.
All about your age?
Yeah, yeah, under 21, because you could work there. They took you at 17 if you were going to be 18 that same, like the same month or something. So that was easy for me. It was lucky. When I think of how things turned out, it was sort of like it was meant to be in certain ways.
Work there long?
Let's see. Well, no, it was almost a year, I think, and I was so unhappy about everything. So I didn't.
Why are you unhappy?
I don't know. I didn't feel like I didn't like where I was living with Marge and Ann, for one thing, and I didn't like what. I don't know what I know it wasn't what I wanted. So I talked to Marie, I called her up and asked her if I could come and visit her. She was already in Joliet. And she said yes.
Joliet, Illinois?
Joliet, Illinois. Yeah.
What year was
So-
that then?
That was the next year, 1944. And then, well, when I was still working, I was still at that first job, I talked to this girl that had been a cadet nurse. But for whatever reason, I don't know if she flunked out or what, she wasn't in that anymore. She was working the same job I had. But and then she said, you know, they would take it at 17, and ever since I had that appendectomy, I knew what a hospital was like and what you would do if you were a nurse, and that's what I knew. I wanted to do that. So, and then I found out there was a cadet nurse program run by the government. They would take you at 17 and train you, and then but you had to give 2 years to an Army hospital as a nurse. So I decided that was fine. So I went to see, it was a Catholic hospital in Bay City. I went to see the nun, and she agreed that, she accepted me, in other words. No, wait a minute. I had already left. I came to Joliet because I didn't like living with Marge and Ann at all. It was like going nowhere. So Marie said to come, so I did, and then that's when I found out there was a girl that had been in nursing school, and she, I don't know why she wasn't anymore, but anyway, I went to see the Sister Priscilla. She was the nun in charge of St. Joseph's School of Nursing in Joliet, and she accepted me. Well, I had to send back to high school and show her my grades, and I passed that, so accepted me. Started my training, and you see, I think I was already in about a year. I think when I met you, I'm pretty sure was I about a year in training, or maybe a little longer. But I liked that. I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, because I think I was about halfway through training when I met you.
Was it hard for you to become a nurse?
No, I didn't think it was. I liked all the work. Didn't any of that work. We worked hard. Sometimes you'd stay on way past your time, the 8 hours if something was happening or you needed. And it seemed like that was fine. It didn't bother me at all.
Did the Army pay you to go to school?
No. They did, yeah. I wonder, I have a stipend, they call it a stipend. I don't know if I wish I could remember how much it was. Wasn't very much. I don't know if it was maybe was it $10 a month or something like that. It was supposed to be like spending money. And it sufficed, but But I see Ann already was working with that other one that made the ammunition, I forgot, in Elwood. And I was always go visit her probably like once a week and ask her for a few dollars. And she always gave me some money, a few dollars. But I never really kept track. But after I graduated and started making money, then I started paying her back. And I don't know, we really had kind of a casual attitude about it. But I know I paid her out of every paycheck for a while. And then I said, do you think maybe that's enough now? And she said yes. So that, I know it was all so. I don't know. I can't believe now that I did it that way.
Your older sister, though, she's taking
Yeah,
care
4
of you.
years older than me, but well, actually, I felt like I think I acted superior to her, to tell the truth. I did, but in a lot of ways. But she had the good basic training and good heart and everything, so it seemed like it worked out.
And you think
I was the closest to her of the
you
four sisters.
think
What?
that worthwhile being a nurse?
Oh, yes, oh, yeah, I'm so glad I followed through on that, because it probably would have been kind of easy just to find a different job, because you could get a job at the munitions plant or some kind of defense work. You could get a job so easy and make some money and feel good about it, but I was glad I took that route, because I think I got, I don't know, $17 a month or something like that. It was just a little bit of spending money. So Ann always filled me in. It's funny, I never asked Marie for money, but I always asked Ann for money. She always came through and gave me some, $1 or $2 at a time. Cause
You have any incidents in the hospital that you like more than others?
oh, you
Being
mean
a nurse,
different jobs? Oh yeah, I love being a surgical nurse. I thought of doing that because I'd like to hand the doctor the instrument. They slap it into his hand. You do it. It was fun assisting at surgery. I really liked that idea. And then I liked being on the floor with maternity floor too. I liked all the part of the nursery or the birthing room or whatever. I liked all that. So I think that, but then that gave me the idea that I want to get married and have a baby. That's for the very first time that crossed my mind before I ever met you. Because I had 2 or 3 guys, coming around, for going out somewhere. And I love going to movies, so there's always somebody that wanted to take me to the movies. That was big for a date back then. Did you remember that? Is it that way? You didn't? Well, was it in 1945 you came back from the service? So, from the, service, the Army.
And then when you graduated?
1947, May of 1947.
You have any
Then I got a job right there at that same hospital with getting a paycheck every week, which was really, that's the first time I really had a decent paycheck, so I enjoyed that. I liked that for a while. And I thought, this isn't enough. It isn't not what I really want to do. So then I knew I went to nursing school. That was 3 years. That was well worth it. Very, very well worth it. Graduated in 47, I think it was August of 47.
And then after you graduated, what did you do?
Then I met you and I thought, I guess he's the one. Because there were others, but I just didn't think they would do. Oh yeah, I remember telling my girlfriend, says, I'm never bored when I go out with Felix. And I don't know, did I call you Leachy then or not? I thought now it seems odd that I ever called you Leachy, but everybody else did.
And then what kind of work did you do after you got out?
After I quit.
Got out of nursing school.
That's when I met you.
Yeah, all right, then, did the Army take you? Did you have to spend 2 years in the Army?
No. Let's see, how was that? Yeah, no, I think because the war was over, yeah, they didn't, that fell by the wayside, yeah. You weren't committed to it, that's what it was. You weren't committed to that because the war was over. So you were then, then I realized I could still be a nurse and make some money. Finally, I had a real paycheck then. That's when I can't even think what it was, how much of it was in the 20-something, or I just don't know how much I got, but it seemed like I was well off. But I don't think I saved any, as far as I can remember, until after I met you.
To become a nurse, did you have to take an exam or?
Oh yeah, it's state board exam after your 3 years. Yeah, in order to get the RN degree, you had to pass a state board exam. That was hard. And I remember, I think it was about 2.5 days of that. You know, if it was 2 subjects for a half a day or something, it was really a lot of detail. And I remember I would just like wrung out dry when I would be through for the day, because it was really hard to pass. But I know I did really pretty well. I think I still have those grades somewhere. I think my worst one was a 76, and that was too close to not passing, so that wasn't good. But I was in the 80s or 90s, so all in all, it was okay.
And then from then on, and after that, you certified nurse, then you could work any place then.
Oh yeah, I was. When Dr. Hoover asked me to be his office nurse, and I was for a little while, but I didn't like that at all. That was just, I didn't like him either. He was kind of a horse doctor. Didn't agree with me at all. So then let's see, somebody else offered a job. Who was that? I can't even think now who it was, but I took it, and it was much better. Yeah, it's like I should be able to remember better.
Okay, this is about 1948, 47, anyway.
Yeah, well, I met you in 47. I think it was still 45 that long before we got married. Yeah, I was barely in nursing school then, wasn't I? And I graduated in 47. But I think I was committed to you. But I know I had this other guy that took me, some hard thinking, and it's like, well, I thought about it all one night, and I thought, comparing, I thought, no, it was you or nobody. That's how I decided it. And I'm glad I decided the way I did.
And when did you get married?
Then we decided that, it was your idea to get married on Thanksgiving Day, November 1948. So that sealed my fate for sure.
Then what happened?
Then we got married, went to Miami Beach for a honeymoon. I can't believe that we were going to do that. It was so exotic and glamorous and special. I think it took us about 3 days to get there, and the car broke down somewhere in Chattanooga,
What kind of car?
Tennessee. 37 Pontiac. Went to Miami Beach and back without an accident, but a couple breakdowns, I think, at least a couple.
And then what happened after that?
Then we had our wonderful wedding, and it was really just the kind I wanted, small but nice. And my mother came. I know my father didn't feel free to come because somebody had to stay home with the animals. So, and it was just like the kind of wedding I wanted, small. Had my good friend Murray Kojan for in fact, I didn't ever had an Ann, but I really wanted Murray Kojan. He was such a good friend. but I guess felt obligated to ask Ann,
Your sister.
and I did, yeah. So,
You know, your best
yeah.
man.
Yeah. Pardon?
Best man.
Uh,
Sure.
oh, your brother Joe, yes, I had almost forgotten, I really did forget that. Oh, that was Joe. He was, always been a nice person to me, really nice. Couldn't be better.
And then after we got married,
And then we found out we were gonna have a baby, that was my goal, really. And after I worked in the nursery at St. Joe's, oh, this is really what I wanna do. I wanna get married and have a baby. I always thought of it in those terms, though.
how long was
Get
that
married
after
first.
you got married? I got married.
10 months and 2 days. That was long enough. I was very pleased with it. It was just long enough. No regrets. Through all the bumps and bruises.
And what was his name?
Oh, his name was Felix, but he went by Lychee, and I didn't like that at all. I didn't like. Cause remember when I was first meeting you, and one of my girlfriends said, wanted to ask what's his name, and I said it's Felix, but they call him Leech. He said, you know what a leech is? I said, oh, so I wish I'd said something really nasty back to her. I don't even know what I said back to her, but I always remembered how stinky she was.
Why did he call me Leach?
Because it was a shortened version of Felici, yeah, which is Italian for Felix. Felix, yeah. It was never Felix. Yeah, you were never a Felix, it was Felice. That was kind of a nice, it was a pretty,
How was married life?
F-E-L-I-C-E. Married life was either bumps or bruises or smooth sailing, a nice mixture. It was more good than anything else. No regrets either. No regrets at all. It was all part of living, and I felt I had a beautiful life and beautiful children.
And
a good
your
husband.
Pay and his pay.
What's that? What?
With 2 paychecks, how'd you make out?
2 paychecks?
You were working.
I didn't work very long. I don't think I worked very long at all after being married. I really wanted to stay home and have babies. That was my big goal. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. I did think that.
Then next,
And what?
what happened next?
And what?
What happened next?
Oh, well, that was just one thing after the other. I guess the big crisis was when our son Tom was born with a hole in his septum, and that was a big blow, and there was no surgery ever mentioned. It was some doctors
Exactly.
that would say, well, some survive into their teens and some don't. Gosh, what was that doctor's name? He was an old grouch, and no bedside manner at all, no mercy either. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then we found out they were doing surgery on dogs and with a bypass machine. They had somebody, I think it was a doctor, invented a bypass machine first to they could stop the heart, and the machine would take over.
One of the first ones that,
Pardon?
one of the first ones to be successful.
Yeah, he was during the first year of after the surgeons started doing the surgery on patients with a heart hole. It was a hole in the septum of the heart. The septum divides the 2 chambers, right and left.
Of the heart.
So, of the heart, yes. So that was like a miracle as far as I was concerned. It was,
And then
it
next,
made all the difference in the world of doing surgery and helping people with heart problems. That gave them lease on life.
And then next what happened?
I don't know. It seemed like it was just more of the same all the time. Have another baby, have another baby, another, and oh my goodness, here we have 5 kids. And I said, that's it, that's plenty, that's just wonderful.
The names?
Pardon?
The names of the babies?
Oh, first came Dave, because that was, I don't know why I was really, but it was just, I liked that name. And I like Davy, but now I think I don't like to say that or call him that at all. And then came Tom, and then came Felicia, that's naming after you, and then Pamela, because I just always thought that was a pretty name that ended in an A, and then Felicia, and that ended in an A, and that was named after my dear husband Felix. And that seems like it's a full story right there. It's
And
been,
how many years was that?
we were married in 1948, and what is this, 20?
And how many years you had all the babies and how many years?
Oh gosh, I know I had 3 and 5 years, and then 2 more in the next 2 years. Was it 7 years or 8 years? No, 5 and 10 years. That's how it turned out. 5 kids in 10 years, no regrets. Very proud of them all. Very proud of each and every one. They all stand out in their own way. Can't beat that.
Tell us about Dave.
About what?
Dave, your first baby.
Oh, Dave. Dave was always just the sweetest baby ever born, and he was chubby and a little roly-poly boy. And I think we were so strict, trying to be so good that I think we were too strict with him. But he turned out, in spite of that, he turned out to be the very a person they can be proud of. Anytime, anywhere, any place, for a lot of reasons. And Tom was the one that was sickly at the start. We didn't really know the problem, except the doctor said, well, I think there's a hole in somewhere in his heart, but he said, some survive and some don't. So that was a blow to me. And then we started reading about it, and we found there was no help for something with his problem, but they're experimenting, and they were operating on dogs with that problem to see what they could do. And then slowly there was a bypass machine invented, and they realized they could stop the heart and use the machine to keep the heartbeat, and that way they can have a chance of survival. So that was risky, but the people kept doing, and yeah, well, it was wonderful having a girl after 2 boys. I thought that was really the best. But let's see.
What about her?
I don't know, I can't think about,
Why can't you think about it?
I don't know.
She's our 3rd person in our family.
Yeah,
We had 2 bedroom house. We had a whole lot of it.
oh yeah, we knew we needed more room, but you scoured around, found a lot, and decided to build another house. And that's exactly what happened. So then it was roomy, and we had 2 more girls after that.
Pam was born.
And then, yeah, after Pam was born, it was perfect. We had 2 girls, 2 boys first, and then 2 girls. But it just was just natural to have another baby. So I had a girl, and no regrets. I was very pleased with everyone, very pleased. Felt we had the perfect family, and I still do, actually. Still
And how old
do.
are you now?
Pardon?
How old are you now?
How old am I? I started to lose track of how old I am now because it doesn't seem to matter in the slightest. But I know I'm not 90
You
yet.
wanna tell us your age.
I was 88 on the 8th.
That was a year ago.
Yeah, well, I'll just add another year. 80, I'm 89. That's pushing 90, but then that's all right too. I still feel alive and well. No regrets. Feel I had the best life in the world. I say that sincerely. No regrets. Yes. Very good.
You wanna say anything else to the public about your life?
Oh, not really. I could go on and on, but it's been not, and I don't say it's in the least bit smooth, but it was all right. It seemed that we were able to deal with whatever came along, and we had to face it and do the best thing we knew how to do about it. And hopefully have no regrets, and I think I can say that. We really did it without having any regrets. Any regrets at all. But die happy and peaceful besides.
That's the big thing, peaceful.
Mhm. I got to go take a walk to the washroom. I'll go to that one, huh? Okay. Yeah, I was so sick of looking at myself. I said, God, I got it.
You better not, you're still on here. You're still on here.
Oh. Well,
Sick of looking at
you didn't hear anything.
I thought you were still going.
No, she petered out. She
Petered out.
yeah.
It's all right.
I pulled the plug. I put it